Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Michael.
Talking to everybody over in Europe, good morning. This is the SnapCast podcast. Welcome to episode 48 with your hosts, Mike Cooley and Brad O'Brien.
Buenas noches.
This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about magic and magic-related things. We're geared towards the competitive Magic player with a casual interest in Magic finance.
Welcome, everybody. It's an interesting week. The big tournament this week is historic on Arena.
Oh, man, and it's hosted by SCG.
So, I keep saying, oh, man, I wish there was some cool events to watch on the weekend. Hopefully there will be some streaming.
I can't wait to see this. I really can't wait to see how this goes down. I have a vested interest in...
Literally.
Literally. Like, I have a vested interest in how they actually switch between people's games and shit. Like, and show different players playing against one another. I'm very, very interested in how that goes down. And
very interesting.
I say that because I'm actually on my other venue of D2. I'm actually involved in a huge tournament or a huge event that's basically going to be trying the same thing with some other another almost like MTG Melee, but it's different. It's for D2 players. So I'm I have a vested interest in how this goes down because they have a unique challenge in front of them to make this entertaining all the time. When someone tunes in, it needs to be entertaining. They need to be able to cut to a match, watch this match, commentate this match, without it being weird.
Well, it's interesting because this is not on a GP floor. They don't have a staged feature match area.
Right. So
it's going to be what? They're going to be following Twitch and say, "Oh, well, here's LSV. LSV's playing in the tournament. Let's bring up his Twitch stream."
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, they would if I had to guess what's going on with this, they'd probably do it through Discord. I'm not sure if anybody is a Discord user or whatnot, but you can actually stream through Discord, and it's very, very easy through things like OBS to dial into someone else's stream. If they're on Discord, you can just set your window up and be like, all right, I'm going to go to, Brad Nelson's stream. And you just click on it, plop it up, bam, there it is. I'm wondering if they're going to do it that way. I'm very, very curious to see how they pull this off so seamlessly. The one thing that is going to be super good about it is you're never going to have to call a judge.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly one of the perks of being on Arena, having a game engine.
Yeah, the game engine will figure it out for you. And if the game engine's wrong, well, there's nothing you can do.
I can already see the wheels in your mind turning about how I can exploit the...
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's players out there that know, there's a glitch in MTG Arena for XYZ, and they haven't shared it, and they're like, I'm going to abuse this in the tournament. I hope we see that. That's just me being me. I hope we see it because A, I love glitches, but B, what are they going to say?
Glitches get stitches.
Glitches get stitches. Biatches.
I don't know.
But also, I mean, it's going to make for some interesting commentary. If you see a glitch go down and it's clearly the wrong thing, are these commentators even ready for that? What are they going to say?
It's interesting. I mean, I'm looking at the SCG website and they don't talk about any coverage.
I wonder if it's because they don't want to put it out there just in case it goes bad.
Can I cancel my registration? Events. Where can I check if I'm qualified? Best of 1 or best of 3? Problems. Other questions. SCG Tournament Online is a series of online tournaments played on Magic the Gathering Arena in which players from around the world will compete for cash prizes. The online events are administered by SCG organized play team using MTG Melee's top-rated online event software. Although both exist under the SCG Tour umbrella, the online and tabletop versions of the SCG Tour are separate tournament series and operate independent of each other. So the SCG Tour Online is not the same thing as the SCG Tour, which
Interesting.
you could probably tell that because, well, the payout's crap.
Yeah, I am very curious as to how they pull this off. This is going to be like,
I think this might just be a blind tournament. I think
Yeah.
people that are playing in it might stream themselves if they're not afraid of getting stream sniped. But I don't think SCG is doing anything for coverage.
well, there's also that like latency too, but I guess in a game where it's turn-based attacks, latency doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like
are you going to wait 10 seconds? All right, that's fine. I'll just delay. And yeah, like I'll just see what you got in your hand. God, that's going to be weird, man. They're going to have to lag that quite a bit in order to ensure the integrity of the game. God, that's a great point. I hadn't even thought of that.
Well, I mean, it's Magic themselves has been running arena tournaments since the pandemic started, so they have to deal with it, and they've been doing a slight delay, but I think it's mostly an honor system thing.
That, or what are the odds that they're just going to put up an overlay over someone's hand? Like, you know what I mean? Like some sort of picture over their hand just in case someone stream snipes. That
Oh,
would make
interesting.
sense.
So like when I'm using OBS or something, I can put a graphic over what you see,
Right.
but I still see my hand.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
see, that's a production thing that a lot of just arena players might take for granted.
Yep.
You know, having this little nice little thing here that says Brad O'Brien.
Yeah, you could also use something like that to, like, you know, when we broadcast, you can see like these cool little name tags that Brad has put up here. But at the same time, you could put something up like a generic backwards facing Magic card that would hide someone's hand.
A fake hand to the back of cards.
Yeah, or something. Like, I mean, the OBS program is pretty cool, but I wonder if they're going to think of that.
Well, and pretty
I
much
wonder if they're
everybody
gonna
that
do it.
streams
Right,
nowadays uses OBS.
right.
So it's more than anything, it's interesting to me that Historic is getting some respect as a format. Like when you go to Goldfish and look at decks for the metagame, you can look at Historic. You can go to MTG Melee and look at Historic.
Yeah, show them what we're looking at over here. This is, yeah. Like, look at all of this. They break down the metagame for you. This is becoming a, like, I mean, I hate to sound so ignorant when I say this, but like a legitimate format. Like, this is something that people are paying time and attention to is Historic.
Yeah.
Like, how crazy of an idea is this? Like, how crazy outside of the realm of possibility is this? When things start opening back up, when tabletop Magic is no longer something that is taboo in the Wizards community, Historic becomes a tabletop format.
Oh, I mean, we talked about that maybe 4 or 6 weeks ago. That do they make Historic Pioneer or Pioneer Historic?
Yeah.
Do they just say Historic and Pioneer are the same format?
And here's another next level question. Do you start investing in cards that are in Historic, that are good GG players in Historic, in the event that they do make that choice? And they say, okay, you can now play Historic on tabletop. Because you know some of these card prices are going to at least temporarily go through the roof.
Well, that's a tough question, but I think the only thing that's weird about that is there are some cards that are in Historic that are not legal in Modern, Pioneer, or Standard.
Such as?
Muxus, Goblin Grandee.
Eh.
So we'll come back to this.
Moxis.
From Jumpstart. Jumpstart was not.
Oh, yeah.
So Jumpstart went on to Historic
Wow.
and has made Goblins and Historic a super popular deck, but you can't play this in Modern or Pioneer.
God, that's so good.
They would have to make this Modern or Pioneer legal, maybe by printing it into Modern Horizons or something.
And it's very interesting that, I mean, this is such a big card in Historic, but the price of it is already $28. What the hell are people buying this for?
For Legacy.
Really? It's not even that big in Legacy. Goblins has not been a thing in Legacy for years.
Can we not search? Or is like, can we not search by card on here?
Yeah, we got to. So what we're doing now is we're doing a search on MTG Top 8 to see if Muxus has been used in any Legacy decks recently. And if not, dude, they're clearly buying it for Commander.
Well, yeah, our Commander.
Yeah, like, why? Is it even that good in Commander? You'd have to make a Goblin deck, and the only good Goblin deck I can think of is Grenzo, and it hates this card. It hates it. It doesn't. You don't want to flop a Grenzo, Muxus with a Grenzo. That would suck.
I have totally broken MTG Top 8.
Totally busted, dude.
It is so mad at me right now.
So, what we're seeing... Oh, wow. Okay, so is this picking up... Gruul Aggro is the top deck that pops up here. It doesn't tell the format, though, does it? Or Japan Championship Winter Daily Trial.
Oh, I don't think this is actually a returned on the search.
Okay. Muxus, Goblin... Grandy?
I think that's what it's...
Oh, yeah, that's it, dude. What a weird ass name. What a weird ass name.
Search. All right. So let's let that search run for a second. We'll see what decks show up on MTG Top 8.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I don't know that they can make Historic into a paper format because what cards are legal in it are wild.
Mm.
And I was trying to find. Okay. So let's look at the Historic tournament results on MTG Melee. And look at the deck list from Historic.
What? They do this here? They show you like,
yeah.
What? MTG Melee. Holy hell. Good on you.
So.
This is really cool.
So Thoughtseize is on Arena now. So you've got that in Historic. You've got Phyrexian Tower in Historic. You're not getting that in Pioneer, I don't think.
Nope. No, not at all, man. But bless you, brother.
Woo.
But yeah, like that would be a card right there. Like, you know what I mean? If they ever did say tabletop Magic, they can theoretically, and here's how they've positioned themselves well with Historic, they can theoretically reprint any card in Historic, correct?
Oh, yeah.
They're positioning themselves, man. It could happen. I feel like that's kind of what they're doing with some of these formats is like, you know, especially whereas the move is to Arena now, like everybody's playing on Arena. Like they don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just like, oh, Matt's out. We're going to see what sticks. And the ones that do, I can almost guarantee you will.
Oh, here you go. Goblins. Japanese Championship.
Heyo.
Goblins.
Oh my God. Look at the name. Hold on. Show our viewers this. Look at the name on one of these decks. I absolutely love it.
Let's take a look at this.
It stands out. It's called Muxus Foxus. Muxus Foxus. I love
second place in a Legacy Challenge in Australia.
I fucking love the name of this deck. Creativity +10. So it's got Goblin Lackey. Oh my God, can you imagine Goblin Lackeying in a Muxus turn 2?
That's just gross.
Oh my God.
And that's it.
Wow. So let me read Muxus again. Pop this guy up. In case anyone is wondering, like myself, exactly what Muxus does now. So it's a 6-drop Goblin it's a 4/4. When he enters the battlefield, reveal the top 6 cards of your library. Put all Goblin creature cards with converted mana cost 5 or less from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest on the bottom of your library in order. So the first part of this ability is like a ringleader that is 20 times better.
Looks at 6 cards.
Yep, 20 times better based on my quick calculations. And then he says whenever he attacks, he gets +1/+1 for each other god. So he's he's a ringleader. And he is a pile driver crammed into one.
Yeah.
For the exact same crammed into the mana cost, like 2 + 4.
When you're bringing in stuff like Goblin War Chief that gives all of your goblins haste. And let's see. You got Ringleader, you got Pile Driver, which if you can bring in War Chief and Pile Driver and just Muxus, everything having haste, you're off to the goddamn races.
God, dude, I love the fact that it's got Crater Maker in there too, main deck, Chain Whirler. God, this is like a who's who of goblins.
Well, yeah. I mean, you were talking about a mud deck before we started casting.
Yeah.
Like, Crater Maker's a no-brainer, I would think, in Legacy.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, you can destroy a colorless non-land permanent with that guy or deal 2 damage to something. God.
Colorless non-land permanent is just mean.
Yeah. Artifacts, Eldrazi. Eldrazi's a thing in Legacy, too. Ugins, yeah, oh, yeah. I don't know how many people are casting Ugins in Legacy, which is odd to me. Very odd to me.
Well, what is this Artifacts blue deck? Now I'm interested.
Yep, me too.
Urza. I don't mess with Legacy too much.
Me neither. I've never seen anything like this, but it's got Psy and Urza in it, so that A tells you everything, but B...
Emery, Psy, Urza,
yeah.
Echo of Eons, Paradox, Glaucom.
So it's like a turns deck.
Chalice of the Void, Karn the Great Creator.
Lion's Eye Diamond.
Lotus Petal Mox, all the fast artifact mana.
Wow. Narset, Parter of Veils, Urza's Bauble. Get out of town.
4 Narset. 4 Narset with Echo of Eons is also mean.
Yeah. You know what's kind of cool about this deck? I will say this. Quick observation. Quick observation.
Mm-hmm.
Legacy deck, only 5 cards in it are on the reserved list. Power creep.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they don't even think Lion's Eye Diamond is worth a 4-drop in this deck. They're like, I would give it 3. City of Traders, nah. We got Ancient Tomb. Like, we'll just do mostly Ancient Tomb and a couple of City Traders.
How many of these cards? Okay, so the cards that are not on the reserve list, how many of them have been printed in like the last 3 years?
Urza, Psy, Emery, Ancient Tomb.
Paradox Glaucom, like that's 3 years ago.
Karn, the Great Creator.
Yeah. Mox Amber.
Echo of Eons.
Did you say Narset?
Narset. I didn't say it, but you just did. We nailed it.
Then Mystic Forge, Sorceress Spyglass, Walking Ballista, like that's 5 years old maybe.
Wow.
Then now tell me about the cards that have been recently reprinted.
Right.
Ensnaring Bridge, Force of Will.
Chalice of the Void.
Yeah.
God damn. Yep, so good.
Ancient Tomb. Ancient Tomb has been reprinted a bunch.
So much, dude. That's where I was originally going with that. Ancient Tomb was not released per se in the last 3 years, but it was definitely reprinted. Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, this is nuts. It just blows my mind. Oh, dude, hold up. We're missing something very important here. Speaking of power creep, we're looking at a Legacy tournament right now. And for the listeners who can't see this, just take a wild guess as to what is the number 1 deck. And I can almost guarantee you, in this competitive Legacy tournament, I can almost guarantee you you're going to be wrong.
If you're not watching the video and you're just listening, you probably would not guess.
Ninjas is the number 1 deck. Ninjas. It's got Yuriko the Tiger Shadow in it. This is a Commander staple.
Yep.
Now, officially a Legacy staple. What the hell is this? This is the same game plan as the Commander deck. You're basically just trying to slam a Yuriko on the board and just out-card advantage your opponent. God, this is stupid. I always felt when I was playing Yuriko and Commander, I was like, I'm playing Legacy. Well, now you can.
How many Yurikos do you got?
Oh my God. 4 Yurikos, Yuriko the Tiger Shadow in here. In case you guys don't know, this is a ninjutsu card. You can bring it into play for 2 mana, ninjutsu, at the speed of an instant, basically. Whenever you guys know how ninjutsu works. You're Magic fans, you know what's up. You can snap him into play. And then when he connects, whenever a ninja connects with your opponent, you basically reverse bob them. Like you reveal. I love that we have a good Magic audience who knows exactly what that's gonna mean. You reverse bob them
and really hope to flip over the Cauldron of Eternity.
Oh my God! I didn't even see this in here. This is wow. So first of all, taking a step back, reverse bob them. You
Tell
reveal
me
the
what
top.
a reverse bob is.
Reverse bob. You guys know what
Is
bob
this like
is?
a Portuguese breakfast or
Yeah.
what do they call that? The mustache thing?
It's yeah.
It's sexual, right?
Pretty much. It's what it sounds like, but give her the old reverse bobber, and that's where you reveal the top card of your library, and your opponent loses life equal to its converted mana cost. So, like, usually with the card called Bob or Dark Confidant, at the beginning of your upkeep, you bob. And, like, basically what that means is you reveal the top card of your library, and you lose life equal to its mana cost. But it's a reverse bob. It connects with them, and they lose life equal to the converted mana cost. Now, Brad just pointed out something I didn't immediately see in this list. Cauldron of Eternity is in this friggin' deck. So, in case you're not familiar, because I'm not, I don't know what this does. I just saw the mana cost and thought it was cool. But it's a 12-drop card. Costs 2 less to cast for each creature card in your graveyard. You don't give a shit. You're never casting this thing. You're just hoping to rip it off at the top, and bam. Or actually, maybe you are. Because you have... Hold on. What does this thing run? Does it have ways to, like, get cards in the graveyard?
Yeah, your opponent's killing them.
Yeah, pretty much, because your opponent has to kill them or else they die. Like, they get out-card advantaged, which is so bad. Because you got 4 Force of Wills in here. Even ripping a Force off the top. Bam, hit you for 1... Rip a Force, you take 5 more, and I have a Force of Will in hand. You're fucked. What are you doing in Legacy? You're dead.
You know what's a cool card in here from Modern Horizons that I think is terribly underutilized? Changeling Outcast.
Yes. Can we get that in a minute? Because I still don't know what Cauldron of Eternity does, and I'm sure there's at least some number of viewers who also don't.
Okay. So we can try and stay on track for 60 seconds.
There's 12 mana. Costs 2 less for each creature card in your graveyard. It's one of those legendary artifacts like the Great Henge, right? It's like same sort of cycle.
This is the black card from that cycle.
Yep. And it says, whenever a creature you control dies, put it in the bottom of its owner's library. And you can pay 3 mana, tap, pay 2 life, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activated at the speed of sorcery. God damn. So it's like if it ever does hit, it's a game changer. But if you ever rip it off the top, it's like your opponent is dead in Legacy. You're going to take 13 damage in 1 turn.
Yikes.
It's over. It's over. But yes, Changeling Outcast, also nasty. And the funny thing is, okay, so if you don't know what it is, it's a common card. 1/1 for 1 black. Changeling, so it's every creature type. Can't block and can't be blocked. So it always gets through. It's always a target for your Eureka.
Yep.
But you want to know the crazy factor here is it also counts as a ninja. So when Eureka's trigger says when a ninja deals damage to your opponent, you reverse bob them.
Yeah.
You get 2 triggers. You get 2 triggers. You get 1 off Eureka and 1 off this guy. I don't know why this isn't a 4 of in this deck.
I kept wondering if there wasn't some humans-ish deck that was using this that was just like, okay, it's always going to get in and it's always going to grow.
Right. My God, dude. Yeah, this deck is just trying to like out-card advantage your opponent, which is nasty in Legacy.
And clearly in this event, 38 players, which is reasonable for a Legacy tournament, I think, at this point, came in first.
And it's so funny to me.
Beat out Muxus Fuxus in the finals.
Yeah, and it blows my mind. I was just going to say this. It blows my mind. This is a Legacy tournament, okay? Think of all the busted shit you can do in Legacy. And there's probably one deck that pops into mind as soon as you think of Legacy, yeah, I'm not playing that format. And it's probably blue or Reanimator decks.
Oh.
Like Reanimator decks.
Okay.
Like they cheat huge creatures into play very early. And like that has historically been something that in Legacy it defines the format.
Yeah.
Cheat a huge creature into play very early. Not only did Muxus place higher than a blue-black Reanimator deck, which I personally think is the best version of that deck. but ninjas beat that.
Yeah, and I was talking about Rug Delver, like Maverick.
Those are classic legacy decks.
Yeah.
Maverick, Rug Delver, Blue-Black Reanimator. Classic legacy decks.
Right. I wonder how many... There's a Dimir Mill in here.
Get the fuck out of town, dude. There's a mill deck.
Oh, because of Bruvek.
What is this?
4 Ruin Crab.
What is Bruvek? Is this one of those?
Doubles.
Oh, my God.
Doubles the mill.
And it's a creature, so it can beat. God,
Yeah,
so
and
good.
it can block. But with a Bruvek and... I don't see it. Okay. I figured that they would have the new spell that mills half the deck.
No, dude. They don't play that dumb shit in Legacy. They're just trying to value you out. They got Force of Will. What do you need that for? You got Force of Will. You're not going to beat me. I have Force of Will. I don't need to win more. I just need to make it so you don't win in Legacy. That's basically what it is.
But the difference between Glimpse, which is 10 cards,
Mm-hmm.
and the new one that is 8, or Kicker for half, that's kind of hard to sell me that Glimpse is better than the new one.
It is because if you like the other card relies on you surviving late game. This is not a late game survival format usually. It's a stop you from winning very early and then I'll win very early. That's the name of Legacy. Like the name of the game in Legacy. You don't win very early, I do. So this is the perfect deck for that. You don't want to, you can't set up a 5 mana card. You'd rather just take 2 more cards for 2 mana. Like and especially if you have your 3-drop out there that doubles all of the cards that they mill, it's just as effective as milling half their library.
11/18. So what's that? Yesterday? Yeah. I'm just trying to look at, so now I've moved over from Legacy to Historic. So we were talking about Historic earlier. And I'm looking at a 30-player historic tournament in Japan. Must have been played on Arena.
Yeah, Historic.
Yeah. And the last thing that I said to you as we went out on the podcast last week was that Kari Zev being introduced to Historic allows the red deck to play turn 3 Embercleave.
And holy shit, look at that.
Because if you can go 1 drop on 1, Kari Zev on 2, on turn 3 you're swinging with the 1 drop Kari Zev and the Kari Zev token.
God damn.
And Embercleave for 3. Like,
God, that's so ridiculous.
And you can go even if that doesn't work, even if you miss 1 drop or you play tap land on turn 1, you can go turn 2 Burning Tree into Kari Zev.
Right?
Turn 3.
Oh my God.
Embercleave.
Dude, you don't even need Kari Zev. Like, look at this. Burning Tree Emissary, ban this friggin' card in Historic. Are you kidding me?
It just got unbanned.
Ban it, dude.
You don't even play.
I know I don't, but I still know this is way overpowered. Come on, dude.
Doofer, do you play Historic at all?
Dude, look at this. You can turn 1 dumbass, turn 2 Burning Tree dumbass, and still do the same thing on turn 3 with 2 mana to back you up. Like, oh my God, this is stupid.
They get the late game from Hazaret and Chandra, Torch of Defiance. It's just a great, and took first place in this tournament. Still not crafting cards, so you're waiting to see how the meta shakes out before you make anything. I gotcha.
Dude, if I really dive headfirst into Arena again, this will be the format. Because one of the things that discourages me, if I'm being honest, that discourages me from staying in Arena for extended amounts of time is the shifting of the standard format. Like, I play this is always how I get into it. I play for a month, and then I'm like, oh, sweet, man, I kicked ass. And then none of my cards are legal, or a key component of my deck is no longer legal in standard, and I'm like, well, I don't know what to do. I got to recraft everything.
Yeah.
But with this, if they just ban something or if they take something out, I'm like, no problem. Like, the deck is probably still good. You know
right.
what I mean?
If they ban something out of Historic, you probably are getting the wild cards back.
Right. But even if it is banned, not only do you get the wild cards back, but like at least it's not a constant thing that they're banning something.
Right.
That's key to
it's
your
not
deck.
rotation.
Right.
It's not where all of the lands that you spent all those wild cards on became useless.
It's an infrequent thing that like you can't really predict, you can't see coming. It's just like it's very infrequent. I really like that, man. I really like this this historic on Arena.
So David Duford's in the chat and he's saying he's saving up. He's waiting for this historic meta to settle because like right off the bat, all the decks he's interested in, he has to craft 4 Thoughtseize for.
Interesting.
And you're not playing that in any standard deck, so that's 4 wild cards you're not using for standard climb. Right. But Doofer, I just saw that's almost Pioneer mono black aggro.
God damn. Wow.
I mean, I'm trying to think of what's in mono black aggro that's not here. The other 2/1 for 1. That is recursive. The one from God damn it. I'm gonna turn around and grab the deck box.
Yeah. But dude, main point is you need 4 Thoughtseizes.
Blood Soaked Champion.
Yep. Nailed it. Gutter Bones. That's basically what 2/1.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, 2/1 1 drop.
That returns, yep.
God, that's stupid.
So Gutter Bones is in the Pioneer version. Dread Wanderer is no longer in there. This is probably the Blood Soaked Champion replacement.
This deck is nuts. I'm just gonna slam out a bunch of 2/1s real early and get there.
All right, I'm going to remove your blockers with Fatal Push or bigger stuff with Thoughtseize.
You got yourself a combo deck or Thoughtseize.
Oh, you had a Planeswalker. I Murderous Ridered it.
Oh, shit. We got to late game. Rankle.
Yeah. Oh.
God damn, this deck is insane.
Yeah.
By the way, that card went up, huh? $17 now? That was a $5 card.
It did.
I don't know if we were talking about that, but I'm going to pretend we were because we always knew that card was nasty. Card is sick.
Whoop.
If you don't recognize that Rankle is a $20 card, you've never had a Rankle smashed on you in a game before.
Well, I mean, again, it's a card that was printed in 2020 that has or
Say no more.
Yeah, say no more. You need a magnifying lens to read all the text on it.
Yep.
Flying in Haste, a 3/3 for 4 with Flying in Haste probably would have been all the text on this card 5 years ago.
Right. How long will it be before like flavor text is just an instant indicator that a card sucks?
That may currently be true.
Oh, this card's got flavor text. Don't worry about it. They had room to print text on this card.
No good.
No good, man.
No good. Nobody wants
good.
it. No good. Can't hear you.
Terrible. Yeah, that's really good.
So there is cool stuff to be played. Cool, powerful stuff. Phyrexian Obliterator in the sideboard of that deck. On Arena.
How long will it be before people realize Phyrexian Obliterator is busted? Have you guys ever seen this card?
I mean, when was this card printed? They haven't figured it out yet.
Right? Nobody uses it. Like, I don't get it. This card's so good. It's a 5/5 for 4 mana with Trample. Right? I could stop there and you'd be like, oh, it's not bad. Right? But it gets worse. It gets way worse. Whenever a source deals damage to this mofo, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. Are you kidding? So it might as well not even have trample. It's like unblockable as far as I'm concerned.
Mm-hmm.
This card is unblockable, and you can't fry this thing. You can't 5 damage. You can't block bolt.
I mean, you can.
I mean,
but then you scoop because you've sacked all your lands.
Right. I mean, it's ridiculous. The thing
I lost badly to this card in one of the first 1Ks that I went down to play in Scarborough. I think I was still on Bant Eldrazi at the time, And I thought I knew the modern meta until I went to like a 50, 60 person tournament, and you see all of these weird out of nowhere. That's where you see like the what's the deck that's built on the level up guy? Like there's just some weird decks in modern that you never see.
Yep.
And I sat down across from this guy and he's like, discard spell, bolt, whatever. I'm like, okay, fine. Phyrexian Obliterator. And I'm like, what is that card?
Shit.
I'm done. Yeah, there's literally, I mean, I could try and get a path.
Yeah. But like at this point too, I mean, you know me. I always think way outside of what's even reasonable, right?
Oh, I know.
But here's another thing about this card that I feel like no one really talks about because it's probably stupid. I'm going to admit it, it's probably stupid. However, this also allows you to sacrifice your own permanents in a way.
Oh, God.
Like, hear me out. There's cards out there that say, like, if you control no other permanents, you win the game. Like, so you just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4 damage to this shit. Or, I don't know, however much damage you want to do. Yep. Sacrifice all your permanents and instantly win the game. There's probably more efficient ways to do it, but this is a double-edged sword. It's like, okay, well, now you frigged up my combo. Well, guess what? I'm going to smash your face with this thing, and you're going to sacrifice permanents.
Now you got me thinking, could you run this with, like, a pact, demonic pact, and, like, lava dart it?
Oh, my God! You'd have to have a very good hybrid mana base there, but yeah, at the same time, holy shit, yes, wow.
I mean, it's modern. You can have...
I didn't even think about doing that in a very fair way with cards that have a big downside if you keep them around too long.
Yeah.
God, that's so good. And they're in the same color, Demonic Pact and this dude. Oh, shit. That's so good.
And Lava Dart was the only thing that I thought of that was like, okay, I just want to sacrifice one thing. What can I find that does 1 damage?
Right. God damn, that's so good.
There's probably I bet there must be pingers that deal 1 damage to any target.
For sure. Well, I mean, there's got to be straight cards in black that deal damage too. There's a ton of them. And you could just do that. Like, I want to get rid of this. Like, because essentially if you lava dart it, especially if you flash it back, you're losing 2 permanents. Because you're sacrificing the mountain, dealing the 1 damage.
That's if you're flashing it back, yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, you could keep it all in the same color is my point too, and not have to rely on the hybrid mana base. Sorry we're theory crafting here, but this card is busted. Has anyone ever said that? This card is busted. And it's just casually in a sideboard.
Who's in the chat with us right now? Can you tell us what's in black that would let us do like 1 damage to Phyrexian Obliterator so that we can sacrifice our Demonic Pact?
Or, I mean, just there's so much shit, dude. This is just casually in a sideboard. It's like, yeah, by the way, if all else fails and like you figure me out, you're like, oh, Leyline of the Void.
Hey, Brad.
Like, I'm just going to jam a Phyrexian Obliterator in the face of your Leyline of the Void and not give a shit about your response to my broken deck. Because guess what? There's an equally broken card in the sideboard that you can't even plan for.
Well, and I'll bring that deck list back up. I was listening to a legitimate podcast recently talk about whether or not Blood Chief's Thirst was better than Fatal Push in the main deck.
It's a sorcery. It's a little bit of a drawback, but interesting. I can see this being better in certain formats.
If you know you're worried about Planeswalkers, Fatal Push will never take care of a Planeswalker.
Right. Especially, I feel like Blood Chief's Thirst comes in when you know it's going to be a grindy game.
Yeah,
because
you know you're getting to 4 mana. You know you're...
Right. You know your opponent's not really trying to, like, out-aggro you. You're like, all right, cool. So I know the creatures that you do put on the board and the Planeswalkers you do put on the board are going to be pretty nasty. So,
and even in the aggro decks, you know you might bring some of these in addition to your Fatal Push. Like, ditch your Thoughtseize and bring in Blood Chief's Thirst and just kill all their 2-drops.
Right.
Like,
because you don't want to be taking the damage from Thoughtseize. God, that's so good.
You know, maybe that's how you beat the historic goblins, which doesn't look a whole lot different than the legacy goblins we were just looking at. But I want to get away from deck lists for a little while.
Yep.
We've been talking about some cards, which honestly, you and I have not talked about cards that we've been interested in, cards that we thought were potentially undervalued right now.
Right. If you guys have been paying attention to the last few casts, in fact, I've been the pessimistic dude that's just like, I'm not buying any Magic cards for the most part. Like, the economy's down, everything's down, card prices are down, they're reprinting everything, F buying cards.
Mm-hmm.
However, this week is a little different, man. We both got a list of like, because I feel like I'm not the only person that felt that way.
Yeah.
Like, there's probably a lot of people that felt that way. They're just like, yeah, you know what? I'm just not buying cards. I'm playing on Arena. I'm playing on Magic Online. I don't even...
Yeah. Why am I taking money out of my bank account to put it into paper?
Exactly. And now, I think that's kind of reached a crux where it's like, all right, that attitude has driven a lot of cards into the sewer. And, like, unwarrantedly into the sewer. And there's a certain list of them that I'm just like, all right, well, I didn't know this card was this cheap now, but it's so low in price that I'm like, we just got to get them. Like, if you don't have your play set, yeah, if you don't have your play set, or if you're like, hey, I have a feeling in the back of my mind that Magic will be played on a tabletop again someday, you probably want to pick them up, you know, because it's that mentality. I feel like that I feel like a a-hole because I haven't really suggested a lot of cards in the last few weeks, but that mentality has been shared by a lot of people and it's driven some card prices down to a point where, like, some of them I don't think really can get any lower. And the one that comes right to mind, like, we were going to talk about some of these. This is, by the way, this is the Snap This Up section.
Right. For those of you that have not listened to the podcast or watched the podcast before, we used to every episode have a Snap This Up. Where we picked cards that we thought were undervalued or that were going to go up in value and that we thought now was a good time to buy. Sometimes we think of it as a speculation that, you know, maybe you want to get 2 play sets, keep one for yourself, flip the second one later to pay for the first one, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
Sometimes it's just, if you're ever going to play this card, get it now.
Right. I mean, there's one that pops into mind for me, okay? And I will say in this section of the podcast, we're going to talk about some cards. They make this section because we think they're probably either the lowest they'll be for a while or, like, they're just really good for their price. But there's going to be a few that I'm going to hard suggest you snap them up, right?
Okay.
Like, hard suggest. Not all of them. We're just mentioning a lot of these because they're seemingly at a low price. You know what I mean? They seem to be at the lowest price they've been at in a while, possibly the lowest they will ever get to. You know, one that pops into mind is not the one that's up on the screen right here, right now.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about, let me build some more suspense. When you think about planeswalkers that are $5, that is an insulting term. Like, whenever I have a spec'd planeswalker and someone's like, yeah, that's a $5 planeswalker. Like, that's kind of like insulting. You're like, yeah, that's not a good planeswalker then. When you think about $5 planeswalkers, what planeswalkers do you think will never be on that list that aren't in, like, every deck out there? Like, I'm not talking like Jace's and all of this. I'm talking about legitimately played planeswalkers. They're $5 that probably shouldn't ever be. One that pops into my mind is Chandra, Torch of Defiance. I'm so glad that you caught that and you were able to bring that up before I even finished. But Chandra, Torch of Defiance. Right now, you're looking at a price, and on screen it says like $7.49. You can get these for $5.
Yeah.
Like, this is now a $5 planeswalker. I was a fan of this at $12. In fact, I suggested getting them at $12. And I understand what you're thinking. Oh, man, I've lost some money. Dude, don't think of it that way. It's like buying into the stock market. When the stock drops, you
dollar cost average.
Right. You just, yeah, look at this. Brad's now pulled up a site where you can get these for $4.70. This is not a $4 or $5 planeswalker. I've never been more sure about anything in my life. Like, this is not a $4.70 planeswalker. It's like when we were talking about Karn the Great Creator. We said the same thing. We're like, this is not a $4.70 Planeswalker. It's just not. I know it's not in every deck out there, but the decks that it's in, it's a huge component of that is just, it makes the deck.
So here's my only somewhat gripe is that there are so many versions. But when you look at the promo versions of this card,
oh yeah.
so just the pre-release foil.
Oh yeah. Kawa says, bad card. Bad card to get played against, not like played on you. Completely agree. Whenever I see a Chandra Torch of Defiance, I'm like, shit.
Your butthole puggers.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's who, like, when does your opponent ever slam a Chandra Torch of Defiance on you from across the board? And you're like, yeah, no problem. If you say that, you're probably not paying attention to the game. Or you've already won and they're just playing their cards out. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things that when it hits, if you don't have the game in your grasp already, it's a problem. Like, it's a big problem. Because now, if they have blockers, you suddenly have a huge problem on your hand. If the board's clear, you have a huge problem on your hand.
If you're behind,
you have a huge problem on your hand for a very efficient mana cost. That's all I'm saying, man. It's one of those things that, like, so Chandra Torch of Defiance. Here's why, in my mind, it is a very, very good Planeswalker. We've talked about it on the cast before. Planeswalkers should be able to do three things that will make them an all-time GG Planeswalker, right? Give you card advantage, protect themselves, and win you the game. If they can do those three things,
which Chandra can.
Chandra does all of them, then they are a great Planeswalker, high-quality Planeswalker. So, Chandra Torch of Defiance.
If you were behind, you should play a different game. Well, I mean, you know what they say: a player can concede from the game at any time.
Well, it's true, but think about this: it's in those colors where if you are behind, Chandra Torch of Defiance suddenly puts you ahead in a way your opponent did not expect. So you're playing it in a red deck. You're playing it in an aggressive red deck, in historic, let's say, as your 4-drop. You're coming out strong. You're coming out aggressive. Your opponent's like, no problem, I got this. Like, they wrath the board on 4 mana. And then you slam Chandra Torch of Defiance. Your opponent does not feel good about that. I can almost guarantee it. Like, the game is practically over at that point.
So it comes down with 4, you plus 2 to 6 just to make
deal
mana
2 damage.
Or deal 2 damage.
Yep. Like, all right, I did a whole bunch of aggro damage to you at the start. Now here's a Planeswalker you got to deal with. And then, sure, they can, like, I guess they can remove it on their turn. They can spend another card to remove it. But they need to have it. And if they had it, they probably would have played it the turn before to remove your biggest threat and slow you down. Like, you know what I mean? They probably would have played it that way.
Now, one thing that I will say, and I'm not saying that I straight up agree with Kawa, but the game is definitely, and this was sort of in our show notes earlier too, but we decided to go a different way. The game isn't about Planeswalkers. Even after War of the Spark introduced so many goddamn new Planeswalkers, from what I see from Modern, from Historic, even from the Legacy decks that we looked at, we talked about a bunch of awesome, powerful cards. I did see some 3 fairies out there, but the games are not about Planeswalkers.
No.
When I came back to Magic, everybody was crying that Planeswalkers had ruined the game, and the game had become all about Planeswalkers now. Then they printed a set that literally had the most Planeswalkers. Like, they just about doubled the number of Planeswalkers in existence.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, nobody gives a shit.
Howard brings up an interesting point, too. He says, game is too fast now. I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense, right? However, if your Planeswalker does those 3 things, card advantage, protects itself, and wins you the game.
And is a win con unto itself, a 1-card win con.
Right. Then it doesn't matter what the format looks like. If your card can jam that and it's its late game play, it's always going to be good. Like, if your aggro deck is too slow for your opponent, right? And you're not going to win with aggro. And for some reason, your opponent is just faster than you. Then yeah, it won't matter. Neither will your aggro.
All right. So in that vein, I have, sir, I have the jank. This is my...
Oh my God.
This is my underrated card that I think is one of my Snap This Ups this week. I've actually been playing this card. Bazriket is a 3-mana planeswalker. Okay. You have to have something on board to make the +1 awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But put a +1/+1 counter on a creature. No problem. Yes. -2 whenever one or more non-token creatures attack, create a token tapped and attacking. -6, and this is what kills me. At the beginning of combat, create a 1/1 token, then put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control.
Wow.
$2.62 for the non-foil borderless.
I do like it.
You can get a play set of these cards probably for $10.
That's insane. An alt art borderless full bleed card over here, play set Planeswalker.
Yeah,
for $10. That's a pretty good deal.
The foils, you're looking at maybe $20. I bet if you were to go on a Facebook group, you could probably find a play set of the foils shipped to you for $20 easy.
Wow. White Devotion is under the radar right now. No shit. Well, actually, we just looked at a White Ween deck. White Weenie.
We did in the Modern Championship qualifiers.
Yeah.
We didn't even get there.
Right. We haven't even got there yet. But however, listen, I'm responding to this. Yeah. White Weenie, because of this power creep, I think it is really an unsung hero in a lot of formats. It used to be back in the days when they weren't printing cards to beat out their last set, was still kind of a big thing. Like White Weenie, just cheap, efficient creatures that do shit was a thing. And now it's suddenly becoming something again. With Devotion, this makes things interesting, man. Especially when this card gives you two Devotion to white. 2 pips.
Oh, yeah. So maybe I'll stream it one of these nights this week, but I've been playing a mono white control deck with him and Heliod and all of the
and in standard,
Oblivion Ring effects. And yeah, so him and White has a bunch of indestructible now. Yep, absolutely. White also has, what's the white card that says I have protection from a chosen card?
Ruined Halo.
Ruined Halo. So it's like Ruined Halo on 2, 1 drop on 1, Ruined Halo on 2, this guy on 3, Heliod on 4. Heliod's
Jesus
active.
Christ. That's ridiculous, man.
It's anyway, it's a fun deck that I've been messing around with on Arena, and that really made me think this is a 3-drop Planeswalker. Historically, 3-drop Planeswalkers are broken.
Right.
This gives you a token and a Anthem every turn.
Right. And I guess my Chandra suggestion is based on the fact that is a good Planeswalker, something that can gain you card advantage, protect itself, and win you the game.
Craig, what's up?
If the game gets too fast to the point where that's no longer a good thing at 4 mana, well, then I guess I am wrong. However, I feel like that is a necessity for all Planeswalkers. I can see with the ultimate from that Planeswalker right there that you mentioned for 3 mana, it is sort of an unsung hero, and people might not be paying attention to Bazriket because it kind of it doesn't immediately show you those things.
Right.
It doesn't immediately show you the fact that it can gain you card advantage, protect itself, and win you the game.
And yeah, part of it is it really is sort of milquetoast. Like people look at this card and they're like, I'm not scared of that card.
Right. Like if someone slammed this, I'd probably say that.
Yeah, I'm just going to swing face.
Right.
I'm going to leave that alone.
And that's the problem.
And then I ultimate it.
And that's the problem, is you're not scared of this card. Like, the +1 does not gain you immediate card advantage. And it's in a format where it's kind of fast. And you're like, all right, so if you're going to play this game, I have to swing at your face. Well, suddenly, if you don't swing at this guy, and you don't worry about this guy, then you have a big problem on your hands the next turn. Like, especially if you slam this guy and you do have creatures. That's a great point from Kawa. I was going to say, if you slam this guy and you do have creatures.
Yeah, you double your board.
Yeah, that's stupid. And then what are they going to do? Wipe your board and you have a planeswalker still? Okay, it's fine.
It makes me wonder now that's, it's getting a little crazy now, but you were talking about mana bases and such. Like if you were in a Boros deck that could make white on 3 and red on 4, and you could Embercleave, play this guy, swing 2 dudes, minus him, swing 2 dudes, Embercleave for 2.
Yeah, I don't know if Embercleave would be in a deck like this, would it?
No.
Yeah, I was gonna say because
I'm pipe dreaming. We're
dreaming, we're theorizing, but like, I mean, one of the worst feelings with Embercleave is when you have to put it on a 1/1. That's like the worst fucking feeling ever. But still, just the card advantage that this gives you if you already have a board is pretty stupid.
And it's a mythic. It's one of those things where like I don't think you can get much cheaper than a couple of dollars. Like that $2.50 for the plane.
And here's the interesting thing about the -2 is getting rid of the planeswalker after that doesn't solve your problem. It goes to your point of I'm not worried about this card.
Yeah.
Because if you get rid of the planeswalker, if they just slam it and then -2, if you get rid of the planeswalker at that point, your problem is not solved. Your removal is probably better targeted at a creature at that point, right? So you're going to make the decision to go after a creature. But when you ultimate this guy, you have constant dudes and constant big dudes. And that's what wins you the game. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Especially in a deck like this. Pretty insane.
All right, one more piece.
Let's do it.
What's another card? What's another card you want to talk about, Mike?
Another card. All right. And I think this is the one that you brought up first. And if you guys are ballers and you're like, all right, yeah, I got some money to throw around in this pandemic, I would suggest, I'm not going to say everybody needs to snap this up because you probably don't. You might not even use it in any of your decks. But it's probably not going any lower than this in price. And
not a baller.
And that,
I understand, Brad.
And that is Renin 6. Like, this card has seen some bannings. It's seen some hype. It's seen some lack of hype. It's seen
a 2-mana planeswalker.
It's seen a pandemic make it so that tabletop Magic is not a thing.
And
it's still $62.
Yeah. The price has not traveled more than, $10 plus or minus.
Right.
In 6 months.
So I would say that with all of the initial feedback, I guess you could call it, of this card, they're probably not going to reprint it anytime soon. Like,
oh, they already did.
Right, but they're not going to reprint it again anytime soon.
Let's not look at the foil because holy crap.
Yeah.
That was like $250.
But like, you know what I'm saying? Like I missed that. This had a reprinting, a banning, it's seen everything that should drive the price of this down. And this is what it's at. If you need this card, all I'm saying is you should expect to pay between $50 and $60 for it.
And you shouldn't expect to get it for any less.
Right. It's seen, this has been dragged through the ringer recently, and it's maintained this card value. I would say if you can get these at $50, don't plan on ever getting them much cheaper in the near future. Like, this is, if you need this card for whatever reason, now's probably the time.
I wonder, we've talked about this before. There are also part of the whole Magic finance hobby is knowing when to get out of cards.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if I can find a nice chap on Facebook that'll trade me a play set of these for a play set of Scalding Tarns.
Oh, man.
Because Scalding Tarns are down to about $50 right now.
Wow. Do you think you get out of Scalding Tarn at $50?
There's a stated reprint next year.
Yeah, you probably get out of Scalding Tarn at about $50.
Hello, Tech 4.
What's going on, man?
And that's it. So, like, all of those fetch lands are going to be reprinted in Modern Horizons 2.
Yep. Get out of town. Yeah,
I'll
you pitch those.
What are they going to? They're not going to be more than $50.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you have to kind of count your lucky stars too, because I think we had talked about months ago knowing when to sell cards. And one of the themes that we talk about on this podcast is whenever there is a card that is not on the reserved list and it's over $100 or close to it, get rid of it. Like, it's going to get reprinted. And especially if that card has not seen a recent mass reprinting. And I don't mean like in some secret layer that they sold for a day.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't released it in some set you can go buy at Walmart.
Right. So even this Ren and 6, when I said Ren and 6 was reprinted, it was reprinted in the list. And so it's like on one sheet of a random X number of cards that might show up in one random slot in the set boosters, not your draft boosters, not your collector boosters. So it can only show up in potentially one slot in this other booster, and it's one of X cards that it could possibly be.
Right.
So the list is introducing like drips. And I honestly think that they have really done a genius job of figuring out a way to reprint cards that are at value, they're just meeting meeting out just enough to keep the price stable.
Yeah.
People want them, they can buy them, they can get them, but the price is not going down because of the reprint. Now, do you sell your promo Crucible of Worlds?
Well, I have to know one thing, Bradley.
What?
What is the price of promo Crucible of Worlds?
Last I looked, it was about $85, but it looks like somebody stole mine.
Oh, the one that you got from the tournament, right? You go to the Grand Prix or something. The one that
when they had the Worlds.
Yes.
Tournament.
And it's at $85. I would say our rule does not apply to like special edition cards. Like, I'm talking about cards that are you could get a regular non-pack non-foil right from a booster pack and it's worth close to $100. Those are the cards you want to sell. Any of these special edition cards, so this is what Tech 4 is talking about. Any of those cards you can expect a premium for. Thank you for whatever answer you give, by the way.
So here's my thing. I will never get rid of that. That's part of my personal collection now.
Right. And it also came out, this is the interesting point about the promo Crucible Worlds. It came out at a time where Crucible needed a reprint too. That's the thing. Like, Crucible before that was pretty stupid expensive. And this came out, a very achievable. Anybody could go to one of these tournaments.
But this came out right after the M19 reprint. See, now that we're full screen, people might be able to read it.
But yeah, like these cards right here, much like what Brad was talking about, these special printings came out when it needed a reprint, and they came out in these special edition. You needed to do something specific to get it. I think those are more valuable, and they should be more valuable. They drove the price down a little bit, but those are the editions that are really going to matter, I think, and that are going to hold their value.
And I mean, Crucible of Worlds is a top-notch commander card. It's played in Modern. If you're going to keep some for your collection, I would keep that one. So I recently offered my M19 foil up for sale on Facebook because what the hell? Crucible of Worlds.
And also with these new like flip lands.
Ooh. It's almost $100.
Yeah. But it's a special edition foil. Like, that's a little different. You got to treat those a little different. And here's the thing. With these new flip cards that are lands too, that Crucible of Worlds allows you to play from the grave, we have not seen the end of what those are going to spike to. And when those spike, this will spike. Mark my words. Like, especially these special edition ones. These, like, special promo foils. Like, those are going to be the ones people go after. Because if they do reprint Crucible of Worlds, these are going to be the rarer versions of it. So please don't apply our logic to special editions or foils. We're talking about common cards.
Yeah.
That are reprintable. Not legit common rarity, but like cards that are nothing special about them. Like, they're just a rare or a mythic. Not foil, not special edition. and they're close to $100, those are the ones you probably want to get rid of, because there's so much value in Wizards reprinting them. It just generates so much hype around a set that they're probably going to do it.
So, speaking of, let's see. I know we've got Tech 4. We might still have Doofer. We've got Craig. We've got Braden. You guys tell me. Transmogrify. Okay. This card is pretty janky. I'm going to transmogrify. But it is a super affordable extended art foil for $1. It's only a rare. It's not a mythic. This effect has been used in multiple decks, albeit tier 3 decks, in older formats. So here's my question. I'm not going to stop beating around the bush. Do people that are playing tier 2.5 and tier 3 decks care about those cards being extended art and foil?
Well, here's the thing also that immediately pops into my mind. Is this is a polymorph in a different color.
Yep.
And that makes it a lot more valuable to the commander players, because suddenly you don't need to play blue to do a polymorph. You know what I mean? You can jam a sneak and show style deck and run this card right here.
Yep. Well, you were just talking about all these decks that are all lands.
Exactly.
You know, or all spells, no creatures or whatever. I think that this is a unique enough card. Like you said, it's a polymorph in a different color. It's already seen play in Modern, even though it's not a tier 1 deck. All it needs to do is actually spike a tournament, and it's going to go up.
Right.
And I think, again, it's one of those things where if you can get a play set of these for $5 in full art foil, or, you know, do the whole thing where you get a play set for yourself, for your collection, and a play set to put in the closet for $10.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's a terrible investment. And Tech 4 says he agrees with me. Now I feel validated.
I like Tech 4 because he agrees with me.
That's right. Now I feel validated, and now I'm right. And on that note, I'm going to go take a piss. I'll be right back. I have to deposit some 98.6 degree Fahrenheit liquid into your toilet.
You have been listening to the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Mike Cooley. I'm Brad O'Brien. Like, share, and subscribe. It was really cool to see all of the friendly faces, Kawa and Brad and Doofer.
We love all of you guys. By the way, coming up in a few weeks, we're going to have our special 1 year episode. I really hope to see you guys here for that. I'm super pumped about it. It's crazy to think we've been doing this for a year. I hope we see all you guys there. Looking forward to having some good conversations.
Just like in sex, I'm always late.
Don't kid yourself, Tech 4. You're always early.
You know what actually might be cool to know? We've been going on about 6 o'clock every week. Is that too early for you guys?
Let us know.
Maybe make a comment on the video if you would.
Especially the people that aren't catching this live. You're catching it a little later. Let us know the time that works for you, because you know what? We're here for you. We want to work around you guys. We'd love to have a good audience here with us.
Hey, spread the podcast.
Not the plague.